What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Paranormal Council, where we're going to be discussing cryptids. So you're not going to want to go anywhere because we also have a special guest with us tonight, Monsters Unleashed. They're going to join us, and we're going to learn a little bit about them here in just a minute. But guys, thanks for those that are sitting patiently in chat waiting on us. We appreciate each and every one of you as always. Kitty Cat, Andrea, and looks like Tater Tot up there who's been waiting in there. I think the longest for from you guys, I guess, from your guys' camp somewhere.
Yeah.
So, so yes, and of course Sassy. We know where Sassy is,
That's my alter ego.
right? Okay, so tonight, guys, we if you missed last week's episode, don't go watch it right now, but later on, go watch it. And we talked about ancient paranormal. We did get into some of the maybe how there's some theories on how some of these hybrid creatures came about. That's just one path and one theory. But tonight we're going to get into some cryptids. There's a big six-member panel tonight on the council, so hopefully we should get a lot of perspectives. So again, first up, let's go with Monsters Unleashed, guys. Welcome to the council tonight, and could you just tell all the folks a little bit about yourself so they kind of know who you are and what you're about?
Well, I'll let Trisha there go first.
Well, my name is Trisha Collins. I am the co-founder of Monsters Unleashed. I have a cryptid investigating team here in Kentucky, Tennessee. Our primary research area is in the land between the lakes. I spend a lot of time in there. I'm in there every weekend, 12 to 16 hours. Sometimes I spend a whole weekend in there. And I go in to collect data, evidence to help show everybody, show the world that these things are in fact real, and that you're not crazy when you do see them. They're actually there. And I also work a little bit with the youth. I take youth out. Right now it's just my children, but I take them out and I teach them things to do in nature. And with cryptid hunting, I teach them how to measure prints, how to distinguish whether something is natural or unnatural. So I do a lot of work with the youth in there. I think they are the next generation cryptid hunters. Somebody's going to have to do it when we're gone. So I think it's really important to teach the youth how to do things the correct way, teach them how to respect these creatures. Because if you don't respect them, things could go south very quick and you may not be walking here any longer. That's how severe some of these experiences that I've had has been. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'll turn it over to Monster Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike, Monster Mike. Mike Webb is my name. I'm from North Carolina. I'm actually the founding father of Monsters Unleashed. Well, me and Trisha both founded it together, basically. But I head off everything in North Carolina, West Virginia, Virginia area. This general area. Research Yari National Forest, Appalachian Mountains, basically. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a I'm an author. I've written 4 books, 2 children's books, but I don't know. I mean, Trisha and I, we've just kind of we decided to put this together like over a year ago. I've always been surrounded by these things, and we decided to start doing boots on the ground work last year, and it just blew up. It's like overnight. It was instantly. We went into the land between the lakes for the very first time in September of last year, and like we were in there 6 days. 6 out of the 6 days, we had encounters with something. and with photographic evidence. I mean, wasn't just Trisha and I. It was, we took in a whole team. We had like 8 people in there with us, and we were experiencing this stuff. So yeah, it's been very interesting. It's been an interesting year. I'm looking forward to many years of it.
Awesome. Well, so I'm going to kick things off and say, like, let's start out with like the first big question that a lot of people probably want to know is, so what is your favorite cryptid to study, and what is that cryptid? What is it? What makes it up? So I'm assuming we're probably all leaning toward like Bigfoot, maybe Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call them, right? But what exactly is it? I'm going to just jump in right away and say I talked about this last week, so I'm going to connect it over to this week. Is I think it's a leftover hybrid from back in the day, so I think it has some supernatural ability. I think that's why it's elusive. I'm not necessarily. I'm always open-minded though, so but I'm more of a ghost hunter, and so it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. But I'm going to leave it up to somebody else to throw their theory in there. So, guys, who wants to speak up next on what they think Bigfoot is?
Well, I mean, my whole outlook on it is I'm kind of with you on it. It's I know that. Would you say Sean is a minister? I believe it's biblical. Myself personally, I mean, I've read the book of Jubilees. I've read the book of Giants. And I honestly believe that it's Nephilim. I really do, or a ancestor of Nephilim, that's been bred down. But they were here before, and they're still here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I believe it could be a spirit of the Nephilim, and I believe that they're interdimensional. I believe there's a physical form of them, and then there's a spiritual side of them, and they have abilities to be able to walk in between realms. Like they have layers that they walk in, and I think that's why they can cloak. And they all run off a very high level of frequency. And you'll hear a lot of people say, that's not a clear photo. It's pixelated. It's blurry. Well, yeah, it's going to be. Their level of frequency is so high that they're vibrating like this. And that messes with the pixels of a camera. So that's why you see pixelated pictures of Bigfoot, of dogmen, of a lot of creatures, is because of the frequency levels that they run on.
Yeah, it's like this thing right here. If I hold it right here in front of my camera, you can see it, right? If I go like that, how can you see it? Can you read it like that? That's how we look at it. They vibrate at a frequency so high that our physical eyes can see it most of the time.
Okay. Jen, Stacy, Sean.
Well, I'll jump in here. Obviously, I'll kind of talk about the Nephilim, and in that's I think it's one aspect. But I've kind of talked to Josh about this and some of the folks. But I also, through some of the things we've had to deal with in dealing with deliverance and the issues like that, I also believe that God has probably created a being that can transverse, just like angels. Angels can transverse different spiritual realms and different places. And so I believe that Bigfoot and probably some of the other kind of creatures probably maybe also, besides the Nephilim idea, might be a created being. They were created to kind of go in between realms. We have kind of encountered that a couple of times in some of our stuff. So I kind of lean on those two aspects, and I don't think that they're just a primate that we haven't found. I don't hold to that. I think they're more spiritual than anything else. But that's kind of where I'll leave it.
Sean, quick question for Sean. Sean,
Yeah.
it speaks about in the book of Jubilees about the watchers, which were the fallen angels that came down and they bred with humans.
Sure.
And it says that their children, that the watchers taught their children the secrets of heaven and earth.
Right.
Okay, so my whole route about this was, that God destroyed the great flood, destroyed everything but Noah's direct bloodline. Okay, well, if these creatures were taught the secrets of heaven and earth, it's like you said, going to a different dimension they can travel in between.
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say that these things didn't escape? And
Right.
because it says that they were there in those days and those days afterward.
Right.
So I mean, that's my whole outlook on it.
But just also keep in mind this, another thing, Mike, is yes, the fallen angels taught a lot of forbidden knowledge, right?
Mhm.
However, even God said that that the angels only thought they knew. It was just such a fraction amount of the actual knowledge. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, they were teaching forbidden knowledge, but it was minuscule compared to the actual secrets of the universe. So just keep that in mind too.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Sean, he directed it to you. So
No, yeah, no, I definitely would definitely come into that. I mean, and that, Josh, I was kind of going to hit on that. There was a part in Enoch where, God says, to him, you think you watched me create this thing and you think you know the secrets, but there's things you don't know. But I really do believe that one of the answers to how the second incursion happened after the flood, I really kind of think that there's also an idea in Obadiah, the Old Testament book. In the last days, right at the end, God makes a prophecy there about a nation that has fixed its home it made a nest in the stars. And so we kind of think about that sometimes in the prophecy world about, we got space things up there like the space station, but there's also kind of another line of thought there that's kind of also referencing this idea of creatures, and even some maybe hybrid humans being able to go into another realm or another place. But yeah, I would agree with that.
okay. So Jen, Stacy.
Well, my experience with Bigfoot or Sasquatch prior to 2009 was pretty much limited to the TV show The $6 Million Man, when Andre the Giant played the Sasquatch. But in 2009, I went into training with Major Ed Dames for remote viewing. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically, it's the secret spy program the military developed to train people to become psychic spies. Ed Dames ran the program. When he retired, he started training civvies. I was one of those. And one of the blind targets that we hit was for Sasquatch. Now, blind target meaning all I got was a series of numbers that were attached to a file with the target in it. And we ran that and, came up after the fact that it was Sasquatch. But what we pulled down was that it is an alien origin, but native to the planet at the same time. What came about later, what was described was what would later come out to be similar to the movie Avatar, where, you have a consciousness that is projected into an alien body. It's kind of like what's happening here, according to the sessions that we did, where it is native to the planet. However, the consciousness inside of it is not of this planet, like Avatar. One of the things that showed up in the session too is that it always seems to accompany a UFO and a red dot probe that is in communication, basically acting as sort of like security perimeter And it's basically looks like a red dot from a laser, but it's independent. It doesn't actually land on a physical object. It free floats along with Sasquatch, and it determines intent of everything that's going on around. So if somebody comes up with a gun, it knows the intent of the person with the gun, whether or not they plan on firing, and communicates that whole thing, and it responds accordingly. If the person is harmless, the intent is harmless, it will actually respond in kind as well. It analyzes the situation in its environment to keep that creature safe. A lot of stuff since 2009 has proven to be true on some of that data, but of course it's unverifiable. It's an enigma target. I can't verify whether anything of it is true. But it was something that we pulled down in remote viewing, and remote viewing only works with a person, place, thing, or event in this universe. Concepts, ideas, things like that don't really come down. It has to physically exist. You know, you can't remote view money, but you can remote view gold, because gold actually exists.
Yeah.
Since then, I have to say that, yeah, it exists on this plane. It's just, you know, the data that I got was weird, especially since I was going from zero. I didn't think that, you know, anything about Sasquatch at all before that, and I was getting all this data at that time. So that's where I'm at.
Jen,
I hadn't
how
heard
about
that.
you?
I hadn't heard that explanation or that experience from you yet, Stacy. Heard a lot of your remote viewing stuff, just not that one.
Yeah, I got, when I was with Ed Dames, we went for a whole month, and he was like, it was like boot camp. We would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, run sessions, you know, all morning long, and then, you know, lunch would roll around and it would feel like it was already the whole goddamn day. And, you know, he just would hammer sessions after sessions, and it was like boot camp. It was tough.
Yeah. I know, like, my experiences with Sasquatch started when I was a kid. And I mean, my most prominent memory of it, I was about 10 years old on a family trip, you know, and I just saw him. And then I saw him again. And then I saw him again. And I agree with a lot of what everybody's saying. You know, I've had conversations with a lot of people who have been cryptid hunters, right? And there are some that, you know, maybe don't have the best intentions, but there are others that have amazing intentions, and they know the difference, right? And I've talked to people about that, your energy, your frequency, your vibration level, things like that, especially people with abilities, because they function at a different frequency and vibration level. They tend to have more interactions with them. You know, like, you can call out to them and they come. They don't just call back, they come, you know, things like that. And I've actually been able to do some of that not too long ago. Actually, somebody I was with, it was their first experience, and they were like, oh no, you can't call them. You know, they only talk, the people that were there were like, oh, they only really talk to me. They don't only come to me. And I was like, okay. So we walked down a trail and he was with me, and we heard him in the woods. We could feel him, feel that different vibration, feel that different energy. And then you heard the footprints walking right with you, you know, and I stopped and I was like, here he comes. And he was like stunned. He was like, is this really happening? And we turned around and he was standing right there in the middle of the path behind us. And of course I was like, hey, hi, thanks for coming to see us. Appreciate you accepting my invite, you know. And the person I was with grabbed my arm so hard. He was squeezing on for dear life. Mouth hit the floor. Didn't know what to think or do, you know. And he was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And he just came and then he turned around and left, you know. And I'm like, I couldn't get a picture. I couldn't get nothing because he had a hold of me so hard, you know. But it's like when you understand intentions, frequency levels, and those things, they're not nearly as scary as a lot of people think. If you have a reason to be scared, you need to check yourself, right? That's just the way I look at it. There's something about you that you need to fix because they're not out there to hurt you. They're curious, just like we are. They want to communicate, just like we do. And I agree too that like they do have access to that higher dimension, right? That's
Yeah.
where like mediums access different dimensions. When you remote view, you access different information. When you astral project, you access different information. They have that same access and more, and they know how to utilize it a lot better.
Yeah,
No.
and I want to kind of get into the next part of this because there's so many of us here, right? But I love that all six of us have pretty much agreed that Bigfoot anyway seems to be supernatural or have supernatural elements anyways. So that's interesting to me. I'm really surprised there's no, because usually there's also a camp of the primate, the missing primate camp, and there's quite a bit of them too, and I've always kind of fell back and forth of that too, where I'm still open for that maybe, because I mean the gorilla was something that was never discovered until like 150 years ago or less than 200 years ago, I think it was. And
Yeah, lived in the jungle.
Right.
People said they saw it, and they're like, "No, you didn't see that gorilla."
right.
Yeah,
And
they saw it.
Exactly. And we have a lot of animals recorded through history thousands of years ago, things like that. But the gorilla eluded us, and now we can't think of that seems unheard of for us to say that gorillas are fictional or something. We'd be like, what? No, gorillas are common or whatever. They're out there, right? So I guess my next phase of this is I want you guys to go around and just talk a little bit about why you think that they're supernatural. If we're all talking about the supernatural element in these interdimensional elements, what makes you lean toward that? What kind of evidence, or is it just a feeling? Is it based on stuff? Is it your personal experience that you witnessed some things? But what is it that leans you towards supernatural versus a primate theory? Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first. I mean, every experience I've had with a Bigfoot, there's been orbs involved. There's been white orbs, yellow orbs, blue orbs, red orbs. So that's more of a supernatural thing to me. And I do think that they have an ability to possibly travel through orbs. And, I've seen portals. I've seen a portal. I haven't opened. Let me rephrase that. I've never opened a portal. I'm not into that stuff. But I've heard a portal opening and have been surrounded by not Sasquatches, but something a little more darker than Sasquatches. If you guys know what rakes or pale crawlers are. So when you take the portal and the orbs and mind speak and how they can cloak and come in and out of portals, that to me is the feeling of a supernatural aspect to them.
Okay.
Yeah, for instance, we have a video that that Trisha and her team took in the LBL, and in this video, they're just looking into this dark field, and it's at nighttime, and you could see the trees. Something up in the trees was moving, up in the trees, and all of a sudden, this orb comes out of the tree, hovers there briefly, and just takes off like a Nike check, just takes off. And so I'm like, well, I want to slow this down to get a better look of it. So I slow it down. No one, and now in the video, no one's talking. You can hear it's just crickets. And in this video, when this thing goes to take off, it produces a sound. Now, you couldn't hear it when the video was playing at full speed. But when you slowed the video down, even at 50%, it made this sound. It was, we're still beside ourselves. We don't understand it, but it did.
Yeah, we didn't hear it while we were standing there either, and we've had several people take a look at it, and we've had several different responses. We've been told that it sounds demonic. It sounds like a dogman grunt coming out of a portal, because it does have a metallic-like sound to it. So it's something that we're still nesting on, trying to kind of really get a good idea of what it was. Yeah, you can.
But I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, that's okay. Anybody else want to?
Well, 2 weeks ago in the news, it was reported that Snake, the Bigfoot hunter, had come across the body of a Bigfoot and had its DNA tested, and it was 58% Neanderthal, 41% human or Homo sapien. Most people are, chuckling at that. I don't know. Nobody's
Not verifiable, or I mean, like where he got the sample, or like.
You don't have to raise your hand, man.
Oh, well, I just didn't want to interrupt you. I was going to wait my turn.
Oh.
So on our show, I took the photos because I've been following this for a long time now. I've been following this a long time, since he very first reported it on Facebook and stuff. So I've got his photos, and we did a show, and we were kind of going through his photos and looking at it. The body that he showed while it was in the forest when he said he first found it, okay? And the body that he said he had taxidermy aren't the same body. And like, if you look at the fur and the pattern of the fur of the one laying in the woods, and then you look at the one that he has in this glass case, you can tell. I'm a hunter. I'm an avid hunter. And you can tell that the one is coyote pelts sewed together, and it's like patchwork. They're different collars through them. If you pay close attention to them. Now, I'm not saying the man didn't find one, okay? Because I wouldn't want the man to say I didn't find one if I found one too. But I'm saying I can spot a coyote pelt from a long ways, and it's just not. It's
well,
not
what I found interesting is the idea that science doesn't know what a Neanderthal looks like when it's, a body with skin, or how much hair it has, or anything of the kind. Science has been making it up as they go along based off the bones. Now, they did that with dinosaurs for 100 years, and it turns out they find one with feathers, and they're like, okay, well, they're all had feathers now. So all of the things that Jurassic Park and all this other stuff that we thought dinosaurs weren't anything like that, because they all had feathers. They were just giant birds, not giant snakes or giant lizards. Neanderthals are in that same camp. We don't know what a Neanderthal looked like outside of the recreation of what science has been building. And they're wrong a lot. So whether Bigfoot is actually a Neanderthal, it wouldn't surprise me, because there's been 5 different species of human that lived all at the same time. And, the most recent is the Denisovans. They were a totally different group of people. There was basically dwarves that were, they're actually taken from Tolkien. They named them hobbits, because they were, big feet, little people, but they were a completely different species of human. Science doesn't know a lot, and it assumes a lot. And the whole idea that Bigfoot or Sasquatch could actually be leftover Neanderthal, I thought was an interesting concept.
Yeah, and they should probably test. They should probably test some of these really hairy people that I see, there's some people that are really freaking hairy, and they might have been from that bloodline when they were crossing over. Because I know even the denizens were mating with some other human species as well. So there was some crossover, there was some dating going on among
Yeah, well,
the species.
all Homo sapiens have at least 2% Neanderthal DNA. There was everybody who's alive today has some DNA of Neanderthals. They just, some of them more or less than others. But, 58% is large amount of Neanderthal. And that's what, Snake, the Bigfoot hunter, said. So I don't know if that's true.
Well, if you look at Scott Carpenter, okay, I'm sure we all know who Scott Carpenter is, and the samples that they sent to going, to be tested and stuff like that. That the mitochondrial, pardon my pronouncing that, DNA, the maternal line it come back tested as human, but the nuclear DNA mixed from both parents allegedly contained sequences that they said did not match any known animal available in the database. So, I mean,
Yeah, there was nothing in our gen bank.
yeah. So, I mean, it's something there.
How long ago was that?
That was back in the 90s, wasn't it, Trisha?
Okay. Well, that would make sense because
Maybe.
they've just recently decided to pull DNA out of teeth, and before DNA could only go back 5,000 years. That was the most they could get any DNA because it decomposes like anything else that's biological. But in the teeth, in the juicy creamy nougat inside of a tooth, you can actually pull out viable DNA that's close to 2 million years old because it's preserved so tightly inside that shell. And they've been pulling Neanderthal and all this other kind of stuff.
It said that it took place over a period of 5 years, around 2007, 2008, and the study was completed in 2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's right on the line.
It was closer than I thought, yeah. But
Yeah,
I mean, but also that goes back to the whole thing that I said that the angels bred with humans and, and created the Nephilim. Well, there was human DNA and then unknown. I mean, so it kind of like, to me, goes with that, but that's just my thinking on it.
I have a question about your work in the LBL because I know like a lot of what we've talked about has been about Sasquatch, but I also have heard a lot of tales about Dogman up there.
Oh, I just got chills.
What do you guys have about? Sorry.
Oh, I'm telling you, I have had some rough experiences with Dogman. So go ahead, ask your question.
Well, I was just wondering if you wanted to share a little bit about, what you guys are doing with your study there, and if you're focused more on Sasquatch or Dogman as well, or whatever else might be out there.
Can I say one thing real quick? When we first started this, we were like dead set on Bigfoot, on Sasquatch. The whole thing about the Dogman, we both agreed we're not doing that. We don't want no part of that. And it found us. So go ahead, Trisha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really did. And, man, it hook, line, and sinkered into me. So if you're going to ask me what that they're saying, oh, it's something biblical or it's something demonic, that's something I'm still working on, trying to even get a theory on. But I will tell you that a Dogman is a bipedal creature that some describe as looking like a German Shepherd, just way larger, way muscular, a little longer snout, or a hyena. That I've seen are called the cynocephaly and adlets. I don't know if you guys stand behind the conspiracy of three-letter agency created ones. I do. I've read, and heard a lot of people speak about it. And I do think that there are some that are created, and they are very aggressive. I have seen one of these. I have been about 20 yards from one and stared directly into its eyes. And no, it did not attack me or my team. Praise God for that. But I'm going to get emotional, so I'm going to try to slow this down because this still affects me some. I could feel its intent. I could feel why it was there and what it wanted to do. And it wanted to hurt one of our team members. And she separated herself from us. And I caught it just before it made the move. I do not get a good feeling from some dogmen, because there are some that will just stand there, watch and observe. They won't give you a bad feeling at all. They'll just, like Sasquatch, just stand there, watch and observe you and not make you feel like you're about to get ate. But then you have these adlets, and these adlets, they are out to kill you. They are out for blood. They don't give you a good feeling at all. And I do think those are genetically created. And I don't know what my limits are to speaking about this, but I can tell you that I live in a highly gated community that has helicopters flying all over it, if you know what I mean. And I have spoke to several people that have saw things coming from these agencies in the LBL. And it's really weird being in there, having a dogman encounter and helicopters fly low with flares on or lights on, like they're tracking something. So what I'm doing with these dogmen is, first off, I'm trying to avoid them as much as I can, because you just don't know. They're very unpredictable, very unpredictable. 1 minute they could be in a good mood, next minute they're wanting to come after you. But like I said, there's some that I've seen roaming with Bigfoot, and then there's these other ones that I've been face to face with that wanted to unalive one of my team members. And I'll tell you, that night is the first night I ever experienced mind speak. And I'm telling you, it was not a dog man that mind spoke to me. I believe it was a Sasquatch. And it told me, go get out of there. Go get out of here. Go get out of here. 3 times. You want to know what I did? I got out of there. And I got my team. And that wrecked my world. I tried to document their vocals. I look for their prints. I measure all their prints. And now I'm working it as a experiment that he wants to try, and I won't go into too many permission to talk about it, but it is going to involve me going in and, I guess you could say, measuring the level of frequency that they run on. That's going to put me in some pretty sketchy, dangerous positions, but we've got to have these answers because people are getting hurt by these creatures. And that's why I do what I do, because I don't want anybody else to get hurt. You've got the 1982 massacre that killed a family of 4 in there. You've got, I just took a report of an active duty soldier being attacked by what he described as a bipedal canine looking creature. I'm just tired of people getting hurt by these. So I go in, and if we can find a way that we could possibly get them to uncloak, so, they're there, you can see them, I'm all about trying to figure that out. That's some Bill Nye the Science Guy stuff, but I'm working with somebody to start measuring levels of frequencies and seeing if they can be matched to be able to uncloak these beings. I'm telling you, when you see a dog man, like my dad said, when we started this, I said, no dog man, no dog man. He said it too, no dog man. And then he goes, okay, well, the first area we're investigating is LBL. I didn't know anything about LBL. I didn't know about Dogman until he mentioned something to me, and I get more Dogman activity than I do Bigfoot in the land between the lakes. And I typically, I will snap photos of Bigfoot and, I'll research them in there. But for the most part, they leave me alone. They let me see them. When my kid is with me, I've had them clapping rocks at me and my kid. The female peeked behind a tree and I was able to get a photo of her. But I have a lot of issues out of dogmen in the LBL and a lot of rakes in the LBL. I've only really encountered one aggressive Bigfoot, and that was Saturday night. And that is also when I saw a white, smoky, misty being that had a triangular chin, rounded head with horns. And if any of you guys have abilities, do you know when like you hear a voice in your head and it's telling you something and you say it out loud? I was hearing Jinn, Jinn, Jinn. So I had ChatGPT to sketch me out based off my description what it was, and everybody's like, that's a Wendigo, that's a Wendigo. And I'm like, no, my mind is telling me no, that's not a Wendigo, that's not a Wendigo. But what my mind did tell me was it was a Jinn. I don't have experience in a lot of paranormal stuff. Okay, so why was there, if this in fact was a Jinn, what I want to research is, why was there a Jinn, an aggressive Bigfoot, a dogman, and a rake surrounding us in one night? What was happening in there? Was a portal open? Did the lightning from the lightning storms just increase the energy level, frequency levels in there that they're all pissed off? Something was going on in there, so I want to work on answering those questions. Why are all these creatures running? Huh?
It was the Cryptid Union meeting there. They were having it in that hall.
And they were not happy. I'm telling you, they were not happy. And I mean, this Bigfoot was within 5 foot of my back door in this truck. And the guy that has had 25 years of experience in there is saying, Trisha's about to get ripped out of this truck if we don't leave. So we left. But I know there's a lot of questions as to what exactly are dogmen, what are exactly are all these creatures. But really, I'm more concerned on why. Why are they here?
Have you ever heard of the Rougarou?
Yeah, that is French for a werewolf.
Yeah, this is the Cajun werewolf down here in Louisiana.
Yeah.
They have a whole list of things you can do to protect yourself from the Rougarou, because apparently these things have OCD. They have this obsessive compulsive behavior to sit and count things. So people will put spaghetti strainers outside their door. They'll hang them outside their door because the Rougarou has to sit there and count all the little holes inside the spaghetti strainer. And if he loses count, he has to start all over again. And he'll sit there and count over and over and over again, and eventually get frustrated and go away. If you're out in the woods, they say, have a pocket full of rice. If you get charged by it, throw the rice at him, and he'll have to stop and count the rice that's on the ground.
That's interesting.
I don't know how true that is, but it's stuff that the Cajuns put together as as defensive mechanisms for, encounters, because it is aggressive, and it typically happens, between Lent, between Fat Tuesday and Ash Wednesday is when the activity is most prevalent. So they actually have rules. It's not really laws, but the Cajuns do not hunt. They're avid hunters. They'll hunt if it doesn't swim, fly, crawl, or run. They don't eat it, and they hunt all the time, all year long, except in that window, because that's when the Rougarou is out doing his thing.
Yeah, but like that doesn't sound very fun. That's not very movie like. It's like Rain Man the werewolf. Just throw freaking rice and definitely 232 grains of rice. Yeah, definitely. That's crazy. And I was gonna bring up there's a couple things in there. That one I was gonna bring up the werewolf thing. Like I wonder if Dogman, I wonder which one is Dogman like a version of a werewolf, or is that where the lore came from? Is Dogman, right? And Rougarou, things like that. Are they all sort of in one thing, or are we talking a couple different creatures? But the other thing too is Jen brought this up to me. She was actually the first one, I think. I've been doing paranormal for many, many years, right? And then so when I go to these conventions, I meet a lot of Bigfoot hunters, UFO. It's a community, right? And there's different branches, okay. And so I would talk to a lot of people, but Jen was kind of one of the first one out of all these years that was talking about telepathic abilities with Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. And then I heard you talk about mind speak, to you. So that's interesting to hear that as well, that Bigfoot can communicate telepathically. And I think that's pretty cool. So I wanted to also throw that in there, because when you were talking about that in there and how it was kind of warning you through that telepathy. So I think that was cool. And like I said, that was the first time I ever entertained those theories, as when Jen brought up, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, she was talking about it or something. I'm just like, that's pretty cool. Telepathy. I never really thought about that with that. So I just want to bring that up. But yeah, and with the Dogman, werewolves, Rougarou, are they all one thing or separate? What do you guys think?
I think they're two different beings. I think a werewolf is more something that has a human-like side that transitions into this
like a skinwalker.
Yeah, like a skinwalker. And then the Dogman, they're just exactly what they are.
Now we were told that the Shawnee created the Dogman.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, one of the things that I've kind of had to come in a lot of different Native American things. So I want to kind of do two things real quick with something that Trish said. I want to give you two things to think about when you talk about Dogman or the wolf or these kinds of things. The first thing is, when you see the idea of the jinn, we have kind of dealt with some of that idea from the Islamic mystics that's been coming back in because of the immigrants and because of a lot of the different, even some of the American soldiers going over seas and learning, some of the mystical sides of Islam and bringing some of the magic and some of the folklore stuff. And so kind of take that with this idea of the jinn. A lot of times the idea of the jinn is kind of the same thing with Native American. You talk about the Shawnee. We see a lot of the Dogman aspect of the Native Americans. A lot of people think the werewolf is the only idea, but in Native American, they do birds, shape-shifting birds, shape-shifting wolves, dogs. Dogs are the most common thing. And so the most common animal that they have around on the reservation a lot of times. And so I'm not saying they're all the shape-shifting shamans, but those are some of the things. And then I'll kind of round it up with this is why would you kind of asking the question, why would they be all three together? Well, there are rituals that's been done out there by these mystics, and we've had to deal with some of that in the past that are calling upon the elementals and calling also upon the ideas of some of these other beings and trying to form an alliance, if you will, in the spiritual realm. And they have certain purposes. And for a lot of people, what I just said sounds so out there. But if you really do a lot of research, even from the Islamic idea of shamanism, mystical side, and then kind of bring it into the idea of the shamanistic Native Americans, it's kind of interchangeable. So I'll just kind of leave it there.
Yeah, I like to comment on that too, because what you said made so much sense. As far as like the ritual thing, you know, when you look at the land between the lakes, that is one big ritual site. You know, you have people in there all the time doing rituals. And I'm not being a judgmental person. I'm not trying to stereotype anybody. But when I see a guy that's got an upside down cross dangling from his ear with an upside down pentagram with dark eyeliner, he's not in there to camp, guys. He's not in there to camp. He's doing something. And the fact that you mentioned elementals in this area that this happened in, there have been reports of people seeing elementals.
Right.
So I thank you so much for sharing that with me, because you just made that night make a little more sense.
Well,
What I
I'll
was
share
saying
this too.
about,
Like,
go ahead, Jen.
in my experience, whenever you experience Sasquatch, you're going to experience elementals, especially if you know what to look for. They work very well together. They work very closely together. Anytime there's been any type of a cryptid or something like that I've encountered, there's always going to be, like you were talking about, you know, there's orbs. They talk about UFO sightings. There's all these other things that work on these different frequencies with different communication styles and things. But there's also elementals. And there's so many different kinds of elementals. I would definitely be interested in going up there with you sometime and seeing what we could dig up as far as that goes, and trying to figure out the differences between them, honestly.
Yeah, I can take you to some pretty good areas, a lot of scary areas. I hope you don't scare me. I just became mentally so strong that I just tell it, you're not going to break me. After that encounter, this is my land. You know, I'm not the minority here. You guys are. This is me taking control of what God created for me. So I try not to let them scare me at all. If I do, or if they do spook me a little bit, I just do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, and I snap out of it real quick.
What we were saying about the Shawnee, what I was saying about the Shawnee, I want to throw this out there because one of our team members is a Shawnee elder, and she told us that she can only tell us so many things. There's only certain things that she's allowed to share with us, and what she told us was that the Shawnee created the dog man, that they took the same medicine that they used. Like when the Shawnee would go to war with other tribes, even with the white man, you know, the Shawnee created dog soldiers. And the same medicine that they used to prepare these dog soldiers to go into battle, because when these dog soldiers were prepared, you know, they chanted, they meditated, they did, you know, the sweat lodge, and they did all kinds of different herbs and stuff like that. But they prepared themselves to go into battle, and it was kill or be killed. There was no giving up. But they said that they created the dog man to protect them from the people of the caves, which was the Sasquatch, because the bad Sasquatch were in the caves, and they would come out and they would harm their tribes. So they used the same chants and everything to create these dog men. And that's what was told to us. Am I wrong, Trisha? Isn't that what she said?
No, that's what she has said. I base my thoughts on things solely off of what I've experienced, because it just theories can go so many different ways, and I just share what I've experienced, and if somebody has had similarities in it, okay, then boom, right there is validation. But that is exactly word for word what she had told us.
Well, you were speaking about rituals.
Yeah.
Okay. So they
Yeah.
used rituals to create these dog men. And so these dog men, if they were created by these rituals and stuff, they could be demonic creatures. Well, I mean, we just don't know. But Trisha was talking about her experience. And for the people, here, I know you guys don't really know us that well. And the people that are watching this, if they look us up on YouTube, Trisha's encounter video is on our YouTube, the full video. So you can go and see it for yourself. And it physically shows it there standing beside this tree. And we have been ever since we released that video, our channel was just spiking straight up, and now it's come to a plateau since we released that video.
I just want to say that encounter caused a lot of issues for us because I didn't want to release it out. I was terrified. I was terrified of 3-letter agencies coming after me, taking my kids. I was scared. I was really scared, caused issues with me and my dad. So I got really lucky to be able to capture that on video and didn't even realize I captured it until after I got me and my team out of there. But I'm telling you, that thing was not good. It was not good at all.
And Gene, you were talking about mind speaking, right? Well, Trisha and I both had it happen to us at the same time. On an incident that there was a Sasquatch involved. And we got it on video also peeking from around a tree at us up on the top of this ridge. And at one point we're watching this thing and something told us both, we both said at the same time, we have to leave. We have to leave. We both said it at the same time. It told us that's what we heard. So, but there you go. I'll let y'all go.
Here's a little question. Maybe Sean might want to hit this real quick. So if, let's say there's a dog man in the woods, okay, and somebody performs a ritual and a demon comes through, can a demon possess the dog man?
Yeah. Simple answer. Yeah.
I mean, so some of these dog men that could be a little more aggressive, maybe they
I don't
weren't.
know if I would say possess, but yeah, I mean, definitely interact. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just throwing that out there because, again, I think that there's maybe a little bit of truth in a few of those things. I think that one, I wouldn't put it past the government to be one of the first people to find some of these bodies of these hybrid creatures. And what are they going to do? They're definitely not going to tell the public. They're going to experiment and try to genetically create soldiers, crazy type things. So I could imagine that they would do something like that. So that is plausible in my opinion, because we used to have reports all the time in the early newspapers of farmers and things finding giant skeletons, human skeletons that were 14 feet tall and shit. And then all of a sudden, whenever those discoveries happen, the Smithsonian swoops in, snatches them up, and then there's nothing told. It's like an MIB thing, and there's a little flashy thing, and all of a sudden, hey, everybody forgets, and it's not in the paper anymore. So it is interesting that there could be that aspect of the dog man out there, that the government is also bastardizing, if you will. So
They're known
it
for
is
that.
interesting. Huh?
I said they're known for that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like I said, it doesn't put it past me. And then, but I also think too, when you're seeing these unsavory individuals going into the woods that do not look like they're camping, and they're going in there to perform their rituals, that's certainly going to disturb things, whether it's evil spirits, whether they're conjuring, some of these creatures. No matter what it is, it's not making a very safe environment for people out in the woods.
Well, I'm glad you kind of said
No.
that too, and in a different way, because Trisha hit on it. We've all kind of been talking about it a little bit too. I mean, whenever we go out looking for these things, we have to keep a lot of safety in mind, not just, hey, we're out in the woods. We could slip on a rock. We could twist our ankle. We could bump our heads. A tree branch could fall on us. The weather could turn. We could get cold and get hypothermia. But there's so much more to consider when you're out actually cryptid hunting. And, Trisha said flat out, like, if I hadn't seen my team member separate herself out from the group, it would have been bad, right? And it's just extra awareness. It's like any survival type skills, any naturalist type skills that you have. When you do this kind of work, you've got to like put them on steroids and be extremely mindful of what you do, not just of what you're trying to study, but your own self and your own, Oh, Andrea has given me crap in comments. She says, or if you trip over a planter. Yes, ma'am. I tripped over your planter. And you kept the planter as a memento. I saw it at your house on the 4th.
Wait, Jen, didn't I see like in your emergency kit, didn't I see like a bunch of ingredients? And I think there was a magazine of silver bullets next to some of that, right?
That's the kit I don't share with people.
Right.
It's funny that you say that I actually carry lichen rounds with me.
He does.
I
He
do.
does.
I carry silver and bullets that are silver coated.
Better safe than sorry.
Jen, I'm glad you mentioned that and it's not just like
They
survival.
shoot like shit too.
Survival skills out there. It's the mental skills. You have to be able to control your emotions out in the field. If you are weak-minded, you will not survive out there.
Yep.
And like if you are fearful, any ounce of fear, okay, they will feed on that. That just charges them, it feeds them, and they will take that, they will roll with it, and things will go south downhill. I promise you that. So you have to be able to like mentally stabilize yourself to be able to push that fear emotion out and bring a positive, like, this is my environment, it is not going to make me scared, I'm not scared thoughts in your head. And that's really hard to do. It really is. So you really have to work on like your mentality skills in there, your mental strength, I should say.
And that's very important because, and I want to hit on that because the same thing is true in paranormal situations. Okay. So for example, when you have homeowners, maybe they don't always know any better. And so they try to empower themselves. They hear, oh, I'm going to empower myself. Like I see it on TV and I'm going to make the spirits leave. And then, the spirits, of course, are like rattling doors and chains, whatever. And so the homeowner gets mad and they're like, I told you to get out. This is my house. Get the F out. And they're like yelling. Well, that's not the same. Like your emotions are out of control. You're saying things in anger. It's not the same as casting intent and being focused. So there's a difference between just getting out there and saying, get out of my house, blah, blah, blah. Like that's not the same. A lot of times you can still you can even fuel spirits with that. So I also wanted to kind of point that out in the world of paranormal. You want to be in control of your emotions. And then when you are in control of your emotions, then the power's there. Okay. Then you're definitely empowered and you can make things happen. So I wanted to point that out. Guys, let's we're kind of going a little bit into overtime, but let's get some last minute thoughts out there and then we'll wrap it up here in a second. So guys, what's some last minute thoughts you want to get out there real quick?
I think this was great. I love this episode. I want to have more of them.
Come
I
over
really
to our
appreciate
show.
you guys coming.
I think Jen should get my contact information, and me and her meet up and go into the LBL. That's a good testing point for you if you're paranormal or a cryptid
Yeah.
researcher. That place will test you.
Don't tell Mark if we do it. He's been on me to get my behind up there forever.
Hi, listen, if Mark's watching, I'm so sorry I'm going to say this. Poor Mark. You go out with him, you ain't seeing nothing. Love you, Mark. Love you, Mark. I just have to say that because he's been out with me a lot, and he's just really trying to get that face-to-face encounter with a dog man or Bigfoot, and hasn't had it yet, but he has a really good photo of a dog man, and I think he's still a little skeptic of it. But Mark, if you're watching, that is a great photo. You need to stop doubting yourself so much and open up a little more, and you'll get that encounter.
Funny, I just told him that not too long ago. I was like, "You're really good at this. You know what you're doing. Stop holding yourself back."
He was right there the day that I seen that Sasquatch in Russian Creek in the LBL, and like we were talking, and I thought it was Patricia walking down through the woods. Trisha was in a black long sleeve shirt and all this stuff, and I look at her, Doug and one of our team members, and I'm like, "What's Trisha doing walking down there in the woods by herself?" He's like, "She's not walking down the road. She went with Cindy, my wife, down the road." And I'm like, "Well, what's that?" And when I pointed back over to it, it had already disappeared to the top of the ridge. And so we bum rushed it. We rushed down into there. Well, Mark, I'm short and fat, so Mark can run faster than me. And Mark gets over there and gets to the top of the ridge there, and he can hear it crashing down through the brush, going over the hill. And he never got to see it. But that's just the luck of his draw, I guess. I mean, he's just, he's that little girl sitting in the corner at the dance that Bigfoot doesn't want to dance with him.
But we love him, though. We're very close with Mark and Night Vision Paranormal. They're really good people. And like I said, I go out there a lot with Mark. I'll invite him when we go out, and he just hasn't had his encounter yet. But I have faith.
He will.
Absolutely nothing but love for those guys, all of them. They're great.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, he'll have it, and when he does, it's going to be over the top. When it happens, it's going to be a big one.
He's going to be like, "Trish, you weren't kidding." And I'm like, "No, I wasn't kidding."
So I think too, and just to throw this in there, like I've had so many people, even in the world of ghost hunting, they're so intent on seeing something that it's almost like it blocks them. They're just so hard, like, "Oh, I really want to see something. I really want to see something." And a lot of times it's when they finally let their guard down and they kind of give up on trying. Then they finally actually have something. But the longer they stay focused on trying to have something happen, it just seems like things are blocked. But all right, so Monsters Unleashed, guys, why don't you tell everybody out there that's watching what stuff do you got coming up? Where can they find you? What do you got going on?
Well, they can find us on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in @monsters_unleashed, they can find us there. They can find us on TikTok. What's the TikTok address, Tricia?
Monsters.unleashed. I'm live on there pretty much every day because when I'm not in the field, I'm on TikTok live because I just don't have a life.
And what we have coming up, we're gonna be in the LBL in the third week of September. We're going to be there for an investigation. We have the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. We're going to have a booth at the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival, October the 9th through the 11th. So, and we're going to be doing some squatching that week too while we're there. So, we got some special stuff planned.
And then November, we have a camp out with Sheila and Scott Granger from Squatch Fishing. So we have that coming up. We got some pretty busy schedule for the rest of the year.
Nice. Well, it sounds good. And hopefully if you guys watching, if you guys like this episode, now don't forget we have Discord. Generally, after the show, we do an after show. We all meet up on Discord and hang out. Although I'm not going to be doing that tonight again because I'm still not in my regular computer. So I don't have Discord on here. But those that are watching, it's a community. You're all welcome to go there, hang out, talk about tonight's episode, the Paranormal Council. If you have trouble finding it, hit us up, message us. We'll get you the link. But other than that, guys, if you like this episode and you want to see more, who knows? We might be able to get Monsters Unleashed to come back and we can do another follow-up episode in the near future, because there was definitely a lot more we could probably discuss, maybe even get into some stories as well. So, guys, thank you all for watching, and tune in every week at weeknight Thursday nights, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. We'll see you all next week.
Peace.